The greatest tragedy in the history of mankind may be that morality was hijacked by religion. Arthur C. Clarke. And today on this channel we are talking about morality, so feel free to leave your insightful comments and intellectually stimulating debates in the section below. Because after all, this is all my opinion. So, without further ado, is morality objective or subjective? Now, before we can get really into the core of this issue, we need to have a working definition of how we are going to be defining morality, and I know I'm going to be hit from all sides on this because I'm an atheist and I believe in objective morality with an asterisk. So, how do we define morality how will I define morality in this context? And I will be defining morality. I will be working under the definition that morality is a set of instincts and behaviors that allows a social species to thrive. Because a social species cannot function, or a society cannot function without these instincts and behaviors. So, why do I believe that morality is objective versus subjective, especially as an atheist? Now, see, under the definition of morality that I had previously provided, a set of instincts and behaviors that allows a social species to thrive, there is a objective core of morality for the human species as a whole. Now, if we try and go outside of our species, then, expand the definition to all life or the entire universe as a whole, then morality is subjective. Because human morality only really holds to humans. And even a theist who holds to an objective morality imposed on a higher deity, as most Christian apologists will hold to, should agree to this, because one of their objections is, is it moral for a lion, because there's that doctrine that humans are made in the image of God, and that's what sets us apart from the animals, and that's why we have morals. And one of the things that sets us apart from the animals is that we have morals and the animals do not. The male lion will murder cubs that don't belong to it when it takes over a new pride in order to ensure its genetic legacy. Now, lions being a social species, they form prides that falls in line with their morality, if they can be said to be sentient enough to be cognizant of a morality. Because it's a set of, it's under that set of instincts. And so, what would the human core morality, what would the human core morality look like? Now, I've given it a lot of thought, and what seems to me the best way to describe the objective human morality, the objective core of human morality, because there are variations which is various cultural mores and such, which gives an illusion of subjectivity. So I could say, and I will say, that outside this one core objective morality can be subjective. And this objective moral core is protect those who are a part of the in-group, and work to aid those who are a part of your in-group. And it's all and the in-group can be, your family, your family, your immediate family, your little clan, your extended family, your tribe, your city state, your nation, your race. Or eventually, hopefully, the entire human species. And we kind of see, as civilizations grow and develop, we do see a kind of trend of the expansion of the definition of the in-group. And in fact, it's telling that immediately before atrocities, such as genocides, etc., you will see a concentrated effort of, a concentrated propagandistic effort to define those who you'll be committing atrocities against as members of an out-group, and removing them from the in-group. And so what and it dials back to, the terrible apologetic of, oh, if objective moral values don't, if God doesn't exist, then objective moral values can't exist. So what keeps you from eating babies because you are a godless atheist? And honestly, babies taste terrible. Just kidding. Anyone who hears that particular apologetic probably has a virulent emotional reaction that akin to what you feel when you read about a terrible murder, or when you read about, or when you hear that someone close to you was attacked. And that reaction is your instinctive morality kicking in. So, and a lot of, Christian apologists will try to hijack that emotional, instinctive that instinctive emotional reaction, and steer it towards, thus God, thus my God, which is why you need to live your life by the rules in this holy book right here. Now, ignoring for the fact that under a deity, especially a deity such as Yahweh, morals are not objective and rather completely subjective, because they are subject to the rather mutable whims of the bloodthirsty deity in the sky. Because, all of the genocides and such that are ordered, and the fact that every little infraction that doesn't quite mesh with what Yahweh what Yahweh's little foibles, is worthy of death. And which would, under Christian theology, unless you happen to repent and do whatever combination of faith and works that your denomination claims is the ticket to salvation, will leave you burning forever. So, which ironically makes Yahweh omni-Rooseveltian, because not only does he speak infinitely softly, so softly that you can't really tell whether or not he exists, because it's all directly through human mouthpieces, but he carries the infinitely big stick of burning you for eternity, if you happen to rub him the wrong way. And I'll let your mind make whatever joke you want of that. So, but human societies cannot function without morality. And, without these behaviors, this aversion to murder, this, aversion to theft, or rather, because if you steal from members of the in-group, then the members of the in-group will see you as a threat to the in-group and deal with you, either appropriately or harsher than appropriately, depending on the context of the time. And, we do have a sort of moral progress curve that kind of makes it seem as if morality is subjective as a whole. But it could be argued that that's because, as a whole, humanity is expanding their definition of the in-group to hopefully eventually include the species as a whole, and ascending up, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, benefiting the in-group is no longer just gathering enough food and firewood and, shelter to see to the survival of your little clan. And I really should have looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs beforehand, but there's this greater definition of what a right is, because as we are producing more and we are technologically advancing and fulfilling more baser needs, we ascend up the pyramid. So, and once again, it takes heavy indoctrination, either through religious teachings or through propaganda, to disrupt this moral center, to label whoever you may be wanting to persecute as members of an out group. You can, in fact, you could see this in World War II, during the Holocaust. And there's Godwin's Law right there. And you can see this with how more extreme fundamentalists, the NIFB cough, and how they're preaching about members of the LGBT or GSRM communities. So, as you go ahead and leave whatever whatever comment you wish in the comment section below, be it insightful critique or toxic vitriol, be sure to go ahead and like or dislike and subscribe. And remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug.